So I'm upset by it, and I'm hurt by it, and I feel betrayed by it.
Are they still paying you?
Yeah, they're still paying me.
I wanna be at the RNC. I wanna see Patricia McCoskey. I wanna scream for the GOP. I wanna sit with Dan Bongino. I wanna show the American flag. Hangs behind the toilet in grandma's basement. I wanna ask him if he'll be my dad. I wanna change my name to Nick Bongino. I wanna tell him about the man in the stairs. He kinda looks like Dan Bongino. Grandma tries to tell me not to go down there, but I would be safe with Dan Bongino. I wanna be at the RNC. I wanna be like Dan Bongino. I wanna be at the RNC. I wanna be like Dan Bongino.
Time of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murderous scum. They're on giant death factories keeping babies alive. They're selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin and they run around screaming, we love Satan, we wanna eat babies. I have them on video. Hillary's in the creepy weird sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with that creepy weirdo woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. What the hell? That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur. Literal vampire pot belly goblins are hobbling round coming after us. My spirit gets close to that evil and I feel it go. We're such self-centered crap. We don't even notice hell itself rising up against us. Millions of pointed people of the very worst type, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stab your daughter at the mall. We're gonna stab your wife, your son. We're gonna stab you with a butcher knife, and then the police chief is gonna say, we love our Somalis, we love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good, oh, they're so sweet.
I was watching Fox News as I worked out this morning.
I'm an incel myself, so do you know what the incel is? Involuntary celibate. It's like a community of people on the internet who can't get laid, and some of them go out and like kill people, like Elliot Rodger. I'm not saying I'm cringing right now. I'll explain it later. The virgin is the incel. Involuntarily celibate, who never gets laid. He's like unable to get laid. He's very nerdy. He has terrible posture, and that would be someone that would be considered a fag. Holy shit, dude. Little
This is a short ad break by Hassan Piker. I want you to redistribute the wealth to Mall Brawl by order of Communist Turkey. Follow his Twitch streams at Mall Brawl.
It's cool. There's like 8 sinks, so.
I love crap.
Wait, what the heck? Bro, what this? What that? What is this? I said I would clap the fucking shit out of Ben Shapiro's ass cheeks, dude. Oh, that's terrible.
I'm gonna take that as a compliment. 16. Just kidding.
Okay, bye. What a fucking liar, dude. 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 Holy shit, dude. What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking wee little liar, dude. What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking wee little liar, dude. What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking wee little liar, dude. What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking liar, dude. Liar, dude. Liar, dude. What a fucking 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 wee little liar, dude. What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking wee little liar, dude.
Ray is here with us today.
You know, I almost don't want to even give this young Turk, George Soros-funded creature any attention, but she wants it. She needs to get it. Her name is Rayyvana.
Certified freak, 7 days a week.
I love Dave Rubin.
Wet ass pussy, make that pull-out game weak.
I read his book.
Fuck you. You're fucking insane.
And Ray, you are truly an inspiration to all who are here today and all of our great country. Thank you, Ray, for being with us. Thank you.
This is a deranged pervert.
Thank you.
And now you're just turning to fucking ad hominems because you literally can't back it up. Back it up.
Back it up.
Fuck it up.
Back it up.
Fuck it up.
It's just skin.
Ooh, fuck it up.
Back it up. Back it up.
Fuck it up.
And it's not good.
Ooh,
Back it up.
fuck it up.
Back it up.
Fuck it up.
Penises, they're the worst.
Ooh, fuck it up.
Back it up. Back it up.
Fuck it up.
Penises are not the worst. Penises are great.
Recovery mode.
All right, welcome to
Every time I try to catch it before it starts playing the next video, I never fucking get it. But hi, everybody. What day is today? Wednesday? Happy Wednesday. What can we do with Wednesday? Whack? Wet? Happy Wet Wednesday. Everybody, I hope you're all having a good day. Good evening. I don't think any of you are having a morning right now. But nonetheless. Wet, yep. Wrecked Wednesday, I like that. Definitely wet in Jersey. My hair is wet. It was snowing today here. I don't know if it still is. Good evening, good evening. How am I? I'm good. I'm tired, but I'm good. I'm good. We had a tornado in Southeast Texas yesterday. Jesus Christ. Well, I hope everyone's okay. Hope you're okay. Good old climate change. With your girl. With your girl. I want a clip of that. Can we get an audio clip of that for a sound alert? Snow, rain, and rainbows in Pittsburgh today. Snow, rain, and rainbows. Interesting combo. At least it has a happy ending. It just stopped snowing on the farm like 5 minutes ago. We lucked out and didn't get all the snow they thought. Yeah, it wasn't that bad, but it was bad enough that my boss didn't make me go into work today. So that's nice. I got to work from home. So was a lot of work done? Probably not. Where you been? Haven't got a notification in a while. I've been streaming. I've been streaming more lately than I had been in the past, honestly. Been a little more consistent. I did not stream on Monday. I had a really bad headache. And yesterday, I wasn't streaming because I was on movie night. It's pretty regular most weeknights. But speaking of streaming, I do have to say something, and I'll talk about it tomorrow too. But tomorrow is the last episode of Reactions. So everyone needs to watch that. And all reminisce together. But yeah, it's ending. Tomorrow's the last one. It's all good. There's some programming changes coming up that are exciting. So, I mean, it's not bad news. I can't give specific details, but I can say that there's programming changes. But it's not like it's because you people weren't watching. It's nothing like that. It's not like they're putting someone new in there to replace me or anything like that. And I'm not leaving TYT by any means. Coming down this home stretch of 3L. Yeah, I actually just submitted my application for the bar today. So that was not fun. But I'm almost done. I got a really easy semester. Doing no work. No more reactions. No more reactions, but you can still see all my videos, which there will be a lot more of on Rebel HQ. Damn, I missed the opening. You missed the news too. Congrats. Thank you. I mean, it's lackluster, I suppose. Not thrilled. Stressful, but you know. What news? Oh, tomorrow is the last episode of Reactions, so everyone needs to watch. Hi, Christina. Also, I'm hosting the second hour of the main show tomorrow, so make sure that you watch that. And then I think I'm hosting Nina Turner's show. What week is it? Yeah, I'm hosting Nina Turner's show Monday, and then I'm hosting the main show again, not this Friday, but the Friday after. It's ending because there is a programming change coming, which I cannot give specific details on, but just be on the lookout next week. I think they're gonna announce it. Oh, so you didn't get offered $50 million to leave TYT for the Daily Wire? Listen, I've been saying my DMs are open, Ben Shapiro, okay? I know Steven Crowder's passing on that contract, which we're going to talk about today because I actually just made a Rebel HQ video. But yeah, with that in mind, just subscribe to me on Rebel HQ. Oh, Christine, I don't know why it says it's anonymous. I can see that it was you. Christina, thank you so much for gifting a sub. Here's a link to my playlist. Easy access to my videos on Rebel HQ. So you can see them there. But yeah, I think I'll be posting almost every day now from now on. You did great hosting Damage Report. I had to listen to the podcast and we'll catch up on the VOD. Oh, thank you. I actually did not think that I did very, very well. John's show is very different than the other programming. So it caught me off guard a little bit, but I'm glad that you enjoyed it. You said Rebel HQ and you talked about Crowder again today. I did talk about Crowder again today. I'm going to talk about him some more. Training news people, Jank or Ben, both. I mean, I love everybody at TYT. Honestly, I don't have any like ill feelings towards anybody there or anything like that. Everyone is so fucking nice. I love working with them. You're going to be a super famous superstar TV news anchor, aren't you? That would be cool. I don't know about that. Are you not going to be doing reactions anymore? No more reactions tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last one, so make sure that you don't miss it. But I'm not leaving TYT or anything like that. I mean, I'm sure you've all noticed I've been guest lead hosting all over the place a lot lately, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. So more of that to come. I got a bunch more dates booked for February to So just be on the lookout. But like I said, tomorrow's the last reactions. And then right after that main show, I'm hosting the second hour. I'm going to assume I'm hosting it with Jank. I don't have a clue. Maybe he's on vacation. Anna's on vacation. I don't fucking know. But the song, I play it before this stream every day. You can always listen to it here. Rip reactions. Make it trend. Hashtag rip reactions. No, it's all good. It's all love. It's just a programming change. It makes sense. There's no hard feelings. It's everyone in that time slot that I'm in. So it's not like they're just canceling my show. They're putting different programming in that time slot. Yeah, Anna's in Hawaii, right? Good for her. She deserves it. But what was today? The bituation room? Twitchuation room? I didn't know if maybe Francesca said something about it. So I think today was her last show. She works so hard. She does. She's awesome. She works really hard. She's very passionate. Yeah, sometimes oh, so Galaxy Brain changes too, probably. It's the same slot, time slot, right? Yeah. Anna works harder than Mikel Arteta. Man United won today. I mean, they beat Nottingham Forest, so it's like not that impressive. So everyone that has a show, it's everyone in that time slot. So Jordan too. There's just a program change, which I cannot give any more details about. But just be on the lookout. It'll be next week. They're gonna make the announcement. It's for the best. I promise it's all for the best. This needs to happen for the sake of the poor people who have been having to deal with this issue. They deserve it. Dang it, it's gonna be harder to do work and not watch 2IT all day. Must be an exciting new show. I'm not gonna say, so just be on the lookout. But yeah, definitely watch tomorrow. I haven't quite decided what we're gonna do to celebrate, but we'll do something. I saw a notice they were doing, so I don't know if that's related. Because I don't think they're making the announcement yet, so it might just be unrelated site work. But yeah, I'm not leaving or anything. I'll be around. And what was I gonna say? Yeah, obviously I've been guest hosting a lot, still co-hosting. I think I'm on Indisputable Friday. Bro, I got a calendar, but I do not have my dates straight. Yeah, I'm on Indisputable. No, that was last Friday. That was 2 Fridays ago. I know I'm on Indisputable again. It's the 10th. I'm hosting tomorrow. And then Nina Turner show. And then doing the power panel again. Is the long gavelled Ray/Ben Midwest leftist show happening? Damn Coastal Elite. Fabled. Okay, but let's talk about Steven Crowder because he said some heinous shit on Tim Pool's show. And then we're going to watch this Vice gun debate. Let me turn my music off. But anyway, so that's house cleaning shit. Just make sure you watch the show tomorrow. Also help me get to my sub goal today. Dr. Richie on vacay too? No idea. I'll say like the last, I think the last 4 or 5 times I've been on Indisputable, Dr. Richie has been out. I can't even remember the last time I was on the show with him. It's always with someone else. A few weeks ago, John messed up and threw out a hint that he does when a new show is coming. I wonder if anyone else caught that. I don't know how long this has been in the, I guess maybe a few weeks ago. John Natarola was fired on 2IT after getting cooked by, wait, what? I gotta say, I'm so tired of looking at Chowder's dumb fucking face. The doc was on today. I think he's back from vacation. Oh, Luke Shaw. Okay. Okay.
What first needs to be done is people to mean what they say. And if you are taking money from conservatives out there, under the guise that you are fighting big tech, start fighting big tech. Start with that, okay? I don't know about and I know that when I say this, by the way, there are going to be 4 or 5 hatchet men coming from the Daily. I understand that, by the way. Have you seen anyone else in these videos? This is the first time Gerald's been here because I'm like, look, you handle the finances more than I do. It's me. It's 2-on-1, it's 3-on-1, it's 4-on-1. And gee golly, we thought we were friends. And you know what? I'm not going to call anyone a bitch. I mean what I said.
Okay, so the reason why he said that is because Candace Owens called him a bitch.
Andrew Klavan's one of my all-time favorite people. I think Jordan Peterson is unbelievable. I'd go to the wall for that guy. I think Ben Shapiro is brilliant. Never met Candace Owens. Michael Knowles, my experience with him, I don't know him as well. I really like him. It's genuine.
I like that he said Candace Owens, don't know the bitch.
Keep doing it if that's what they want. I'm not going to, at a certain point, my tolerance will run out. So send 4, send 5. At a certain point, don't send anyone you expect back in one piece.
Okay, we don't need to watch me talking about it. But yeah, at the end there, he says, don't send anyone you expect back in one piece. So, I mean, thinly veiled threat or not so thinly veiled threat. But that wasn't all he said.
Timcast. There's only me as the principal of the entire company, sole owner, sole board member, president, CEO, treasurer, chairman, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Their staff, you know, I have a COO, we've got people who work here, but I own literally all of it, control all of it with no outside investment. It's literally just, I started making—
And you're not even Jewish.
Bro, how does this video not have more views? You can't even believe he said that. Juice this video. Go play it on silent in another tab. Go share it. How did he say that? Even look at his face. Even he is like, oh, fuck. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that. And he does try to run some cover for that statement. So I'll show you what he tried to do.
Yeah, I'm
just saying as a joke to the anti-Semites in there. By the way, we're not talking about, no one we're talking about is even Jewish, just to be clear.
No one we're talking about is even Jewish, just to be clear. You're literally talking about Ben Shapiro, who you know is Jewish. Just a prank, bro. It was just a little joke for the anti-Semites watching. Also like slight diss at Tim Pool saying, I know you got a lot of anti-Semites in your audience who would enjoy my joke. Why is it that people with little beady eyes are such pieces of shit? Candace Owens, apparently, I swear to God, you gotta back me on this, chat. This is blackmail, what she says. It has to be blackmail.
And I was given a lot.
Owens had this to say about Steven.
Over the weekend, I was given a lot more information regarding Steven Crowder, a lot more background information regarding what could have possibly led to this moment. Not to my surprise at all. Obviously, this really doesn't have anything to do with the Daily Wire. And his actions are a symptom of something much larger. And I want to choose my words very carefully here because I'm not angry anymore. Steven has a lot going on.
And I edited out for like the sake of time from this video. But at this point, she says that he needs to like repair his relationship with God and that she's praying for him and that she's imploring her audience to pray for Steven Crowder.
And I am certain that in the near future, more information will come out. I do not think it is my place to say more than that. Well, probably what I should say is I am unsure at this moment if it is my place to say more than that.
She's gonna say it.
You know, maybe if I feel in further defense, some things should be said, or maybe if I feel that the public has a right to understand certain circumstances. But at this moment, I think I would just like to carefully back out.
He's gay. I'm sorry. He's gay. That's what it is, right? He's gay. That's what she knows. He's gay. It's gotta be that he's gay. It has to be that he's gay. The way that she phrased it. Otto, but thank you so much for resubbing. Play that again. I'll play the whole clip again because it's good and it's worth watching and listening to. Plus, I know that my frames were dropping.
Weekend, I was given a lot more information regarding Steven Crowder, a lot more background information regarding what could have possibly led to this moment. Not to my surprise at all. Obviously, this really doesn't have anything to do with the Daily Wire, and his actions are a symptom of something much.
She definitely has something. I mean, Steven Crowder has a really bad reputation, even within right-wing circles and in the media game. So it wouldn't surprise me that she could easily get information and she wouldn't be above at all putting it out there. It's a threat. She's blackmailing him.
Much larger, and I want to choose my words very carefully here because I'm not angry anymore. Steven has a lot going on, and I am certain that in the near future more information will come out.
Anyway, yeah, so there is when she said that, I edited it out, but she said that she's praying for him, and that I think it's just the fact that she said, and I obviously didn't insinuate it in this video, but so it seemed unnecessary for me to keep the clip in, but she says that he claims to be a man of God, that he claims to be Christian. And then she says that he needs to like be strengthened in his faith, and then says that she's praying for him, which is why I think that she has some blackmail, of him being gay. Plus, there's always been rumors for a long time, or like bisexual, that there's been rumors for a long time.
I do not think it is my place to say more than that. Well, probably what I should say.
I'm sorry, just like it's probably not my place. Well, unless I have to say it.
Say is I am unsure at this moment if it is my place to say more than that. Maybe if I feel in further defense, something should be said, or maybe if I feel that the public has a right to understand certain circumstances. But at this moment, I think I would just like to carefully back out.
I love that so much. I'd like to carefully back out. Okay, I'm sorry, he's gay. Although I will say a bunch of the comments on this video, because I called him YouTube racist Steven Crowder. A bunch of people were like, oh, you use the word racist so much, it has no meaning. Steven Crowder is racist. That is his whole thing. That's the whole shtick of Steven Crowder, is that he's racist. I don't think that this fucking Inception moment right here. I don't think that it loses its meaning to call a man who does a mock Chinese accent with regularity a racist. I don't think it makes the term racist lose its meaning to call the guy who reenacted George Floyd's murder a racist. Right wing infighting, love that. I pray for Crowder. I pray that he stops being a bigot. He tries too hard. He does try too hard. That man puts on the same Chris Tucker accent for any black person, from Martin Luther King to Mandela to George Floyd. Yeah. But he is racist. I don't know. What else am I supposed to call him? He's a fucking racist. I was so tired when I filmed that video this morning. I was barely awake. Okay, let's watch the gun debate. Thank God, the last Vice video didn't have subtitles.
How do I defend myself and my children against two guys who have AR-15s? Tell me how. And you said yourself that the police may not make it there in time. Tell me how.
You know what? The best.
Bro. I'm sorry. This is a debate about school shootings. Are you in school with your kids with an AR-15? Is that how you stop a school shooting? Are you roaming the hallways with an AR-15? And I know this is just the intro, but it's already got me heated.
Best chance you got in a situation like that is to get out the house.
She just stated that
So
they
is that
reach
30
far.
rounds a piece? That's 90 rounds of bullets firing through the home.
You think I can outrun that?
You need to get out of the house.
Oh, sir, I stand my ground. Sorry.
I'm sorry. The person who has the gun in their hands is always going to have a leg up on you. The person who has to, 1, become aware of the break-in, 2, collect your children, and then 3, unlock your gun safe and load the gun. But I mean, at the end of the day, the likelihood that someone is going to break into your house, you're going to be the victim of an armed robbery, an armed home invasion, is so low. You are significantly more likely to have that gun used against you in a case of domestic violence than you are ever likely to use it in self-defense. That was the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. Jesus. Is it just my headphones, or is this the loudest thing you've ever fucking heard? Did you see the Vice video with Christian Walker? Yeah, we watched it last week. Jimmy Dore. Oh, yeah, I saw this on Twitter. I did not cover it yet. Thank you, Cave Dwelling. Jimmy Dore forgot to switch into his alt account before he started referring to himself in the third person. Imagine ignoring, this is from his account. Imagine ignoring that the Surfs TV had to lie to make Jimmy look like a right-winger when in fact he said the opposite of what they claim just because you hate Jimmy and have no character at all. Imagine, bro. Shit, audio balancing. It's the talking part wasn't that loud, but the music was insane. No, he didn't delete it. You're Jimmy. No, that's libtard01. That's so funny. This man is so, I mean, I'm sorry. This man is he's tweeting at 9:48 a.m. my time, which would be 7:48 his time, just already drunk. Just already drunk. And you know that. You know he is. Because this man has an unhealthy relationship with the bottle. He was using Hunter's laptop. God, Jimmy Dore is such a bozo. The word bozo was invented for people like Jimmy Dore. Just a fucking clown. Still drunk from the night before. He ain't gone to bed yet. This man goes to sleep with a full glass of whiskey next to him every night. Washes down his old man medication in the morning. Fucking whiskey. Dude, the guy does his show drunk. He does his show like so drunk. I don't even know how he manages to go live. Like this, I'm sorry. Like it's funny because he's a piece of shit, but at the end, like this guy needs help. Like at your big, first of all, he's the same age as Sam Cedar. He looks like he could be Sam Cedar's dad. He has not aged well. They're both 57. When I heard that Sam Cedar was 57, I actually gasped because I was shocked to learn that. He does not look 57. Jimmy peaked when he spat on Alex Jones. That's true. He aged badly. He did not age well. Did not age well. Anyway, back to the debate. Fuck Jimmy Dore. No lie, Jimmy looks terrible. Oh, he looks so bad. He looks so bad. I do like, though, when he steals his wife's hair dye and just goes jet black on his hair, because who do you think you're fooling? Who the fuck do you think you're fooling, Jimmy? You look like a fucking clown, bro. You look like that episode of The Office where Creed dyed his hair with printer ink. Like...
Thank you all for coming
no
today.
Sound?
My name
What just happened?
is Keegan Hamilton. I'm a correspondent.
I had my volume turned all the way down.
News. Obviously, we couldn't get someone to represent every single perspective on this, but we've tried to get across the range here. And we're here today to talk about guns. It's a polarizing topic. It can be a controversial topic.
Is this guy from the show escaping Amish? Like, I'm sorry. Did he just get off of the fucking Amish farm? I don't know what they're called. Like, what is this? What are these? Watch this guy be like vehemently anti-gun now that I roasted his fit.
And I think in some ways, arguing about what to do about guns and gun policy is about as American as apple pie. Raise your
Yeah, it is American that in this country, the country with the most gun violence, we are still having a debate on how to fucking solve the problem. It is American as apple pie. School shootings are as American as apple pie. Absolutely.
Your hand if you've ever shot a gun. Now, keep your hand up if you currently own a gun. All right? Keep your hand up if you own more than one gun. Keep your hand up if you own more than 10 guns. Keep your hand
No! What the fuck? She said, I need to protect my children with 10 guns? Like, stop pretending that's for self-defense. I'm sorry, are you like fucking Killer Bee on Naruto with like octopus tentacles shooting all the guns at the same time? What on earth could you need 10 guns for? Don't lie and say it's for self-defense. You can't use 10 guns. That's so fucking goofy.
hand up if you own any AR-15s. How does shooting a gun make you feel?
I feel powerful. I feel confident.
Fun is pretty much what I'm thinking about.
Nah, he is a pro-gun guy. I'm glad I roasted his fit.
I'm feeling when I'm shooting a gun. It's a good time.
It's like Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility.
Facts.
Determined, I guess, when I pick up a gun. Loaded, not loaded. Am I shooting? Am I shooting responsibly?
It's always been a very neutral experience for me because of things like that, where it's just about doing everything correctly.
Yeah.
I usually feel tired after shooting a lot. A lot of the training is extensive, and as an instructor, I'm usually also teaching while I'm shooting firearms.
If shooting a gun is exhausting, like teaching people to shoot guns is even more exhausting.
But it's exciting because you can empower somebody else. Like, after it, you may feel tired and exhausted, but these people might be that much safer because of what you taught them.
They will not be that much. Like, I'm sorry, there's just no evidence to support that. I think that they might be more anxious. Like, I think the idea that you are perpetuating this idea that you're going to need this to protect yourself, and not to say that it never happens, but for most part, for most people, you will not. You will never need to use a gun to protect yourself. And like I said earlier, if you keep a gun in your home, it is more likely that it will be used against you for violence than you will use it to defend your family in an armed robbery or a home invasion situation. She'd be like, that is so fucking loud. Why is it so loud right now?
Happy Diwali, folks.
Her when the mailman has a package that needs to be signed for, so he knocks on the door.
How many of y'all are longtime gun owners? Raise your hands. And how many are new gun owners who've just got into gun ownership and shooting? Okay.
I grew up around them, but I recently moved somewhere where I could personally own them.
I started...
Why couldn't you own them before? Hold on. What was preventing you from owning your own gun before? Why did you need to move somewhere else to own a gun? What state statutes were preventing you from owning a gun? And how specifically were they impacting you? I would like to know. Red flag laws. So he owns 10 plus guns, but he's a new gun owner. Guns are fucking expensive too.
You know, closer to 2018, 2019, when I just turned 18 years old and was legally allowed to buy guns.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. She does not. I didn't think that she was going to say that she was 23 years old. That like caught me off guard. No offense, all love, but bro.
Did not grow up around guns. I started owning them because of different political conditions that we were under.
I think the reason why I don't own a gun, even though it always felt like a given, I grew up in San Antonio, and
As a first-generation American growing up, I wanted to be a good American. I wanted to observe what everyone else was doing and be like, okay, that's how you be an American. That's how you do it. But then I went out to a really big defensive shooting training. It's like 1,000 rounds over a weekend, lots of like pressure exercises. And I was like, this is a whole lifestyle that I'm not willing to take up.
Can we talk about why you guys chose to own guns?
Law enforcement.
I spotted that a mile away though. He has, you know, and I hate to do phrenology, but I love to do it on cops. He has a cop skull.
Similar, I'm military or former military.
That also was pretty easy to peg.
And carried a handgun concealed while
There's something just about the way she's sitting where it's like, yeah, she was in the military.
Deployed at 19.
I grew up in rural Virginia, and so for us, it was more.
Yeah, he does have a cop skull. That's a good answer, though. Good to own guns in case the pigs come knocking.
Tradition. The first firearm I received or owned was.
I'm sorry, he's so visibly a cop, assigned cop at birth.
It was more of tradition. The first.
Look at that. That is, he came out the womb with those sunglasses on the back of his head, filming a car rant.
Firearm I received or owned was the first firearm my father owned, which was a hunting rifle.
Square skull, exactly.
So for us, we were taught to take care of it, appreciate it, but know that it has a place.
My dad grew up in rural Pennsylvania, so, I mean, he was shooting his whole life. He hunted.
Bro, hold on. Rural Pennsylvania? I was fucking right. This dude is Amish. Hi, Gun Milk. Thank you so much for subbing. Appreciate that. Bro, I'm too good. I'm too good.
And so he thought it was.
Also, though, I mean, yeah, of course he's fucking Amish. Look at him. Look at him. It wasn't I wasn't making, you know, a risky bet by saying that he's probably Amish.
Important for us to learn pretty young kind of about guns and how they work.
When I was growing up, it was always the bad guys that had guns, and I felt like I didn't have the emotional maturity at that time to own guns. But as I got older, I started seeing it more as recreation. And then as, you know, the climate in the world changed and events happened in my life, I started to really be empowered by the security that they offered for me.
I will be so interested to learn what she means by that.
I actually used to be a gun control activist, and there were certain events that were happening where violence against trans women was, you know, increasing across the country. And there was this one video that went viral where a trans woman was violently mobbed in a gas station one night. And that was a clicking moment for me. At that moment, I was like, you know what? The only thing that would have stopped her from this violent mob was, in fact, a gun.
How does the second...
I understand where she's coming from. I get where she's coming from. And I respect that position. I think there are alternatives. I don't think the gun is the only option, but I get where she's coming from.
Second Amendment affect the way that you view gun ownership as a right in this country?
I think my right to defend myself how I see fit comes from my creator, not the Second Amendment. A lot of people...
It's my divine right to own a gun given to me by God himself. A lot of people don't know this, but when Jesus went into the temple and ousted the moneylenders, it was with an AR-15.
Hinge on the Second Amendment and the verbiage.
Oh, I gotta say though, that's insane. Like there is no interpretation of the Bible. There is no reading of scripture that could lend itself to that. Like it doesn't make fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense to say that. Like, I don't remember the part of the Bible where Jesus, you know, shot Pontius Pilate.
And we dissect it and we try to interpret it. But ultimately, every person on this planet was born with the right to defend themselves.
Every person on this planet was, I thought you said was born with a gun. Every person on this planet was born with a fucking AR-15. Also, though, the idea that the only way to defend yourself with a gun is bullshit. And I have to remind people that stand your ground laws came from something that wasn't an issue. A woman was being harassed by a car full of men in Missouri, I believe it was, is where this originates from. They were harassing her, and she shot one of them and killed one of them in self-defense. And she wasn't charged. She wasn't charged at all. And yet, conservatives took that as an opportunity to push more and more egregious gun legislation. Despite the fact that it wasn't an issue, people weren't being charged for shooting people in self-defense. It wasn't happening.
I don't have any skin in the game. I don't own guns. So as far as 2A goes, I do not feel like that is a right that I personally want to protect or defend.
I feel very conflicted about the Second Amendment. At the end of the day, when we talk about the Constitution as like this sacred document, I mean, it was written by a bunch of rich white guys who own.
Wait, hold on. What the fuck? This guy? No shot. Bro, you just said you own like more than 10 guns. I'm say it, baby. You're right. I'm so surprised.
Owned slaves, didn't let women vote, and thought the Electoral College was a good idea. So
you are right. He probably is an SRA member. Fucking hell. Okay. I have to just leave all my preconceived ideas at the door. Hi, do you wear Hassan clothes? I am wearing Hassan's merch right now. It's a wonderful sweatshirt. It's so cozy and it's very high quality.
maybe it's not a perfect document and we should kind of update it as time progresses.
It's my right to defend myself. There is an ample amount of...
The Second Amendment isn't protecting your right to defend yourself. Just want to get that out there. The Second Amendment has exactly fuck all to do with your right to defend yourself. It doesn't come from the Second Amendment. It comes from common law. And, you know, it's further encapsulated in state statutes. You have a right to defend yourself. That is a defense you can raise in every court in America. There is not a jurisdiction where you cannot raise self-defense as a defense for being charged with, assault and battery, or being charged with murder if you killed the person. And it doesn't derive from the Second Amendment. It has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. So what the hell are you talking about? You're right. You have a right to defend yourself. It doesn't have anything to do with 2A. It doesn't have fucking anything to do with 2A. And to this argument that only the bad guys will have guns, we can look at any other country in the fucking world where they had a mass shooting and then banned guns and gun violence drastically went down. It worked there. So what's your argument here?
Time between the time you call the police and the time that they arrive. It's my right to be able to protect myself in any way possible.
As a survivor of gun violence, I can't help but to think about how many people have been lost because of this perceived right or this outdated document. I feel like this debate around the Second Amendment is over.
I'm glad they brought someone in who is a survival of gun violence. I think that that's a unique perspective that needs to be contributed to the conversation. Can I get this link? Yeah, sure. The lesson of this video is don't judge a book by its cover, because Mr. Amish really caught me off guard.
Simplifying a really serious and complex issue. And unfortunately, there's too many privileged individuals having these debates, making these decisions, who aren't feeling the pain of what gun violence in our country has done to us.
In Connecticut, 2 officers were shot and killed.
I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to say a goddamn word. Oh, I'm not going to say a thing, okay? I have no comment on that. I'm laughing for a different reason. I just thought of a funny joke is all. I'm not laughing at that. I swear. I would never laugh at cops being murdered. It wouldn't make me laugh, I promise. Oh. I'm sorry. Oh my God. Say the joke. There's no joke. Oh, fucking hell. It's too much. I haven't played the video.
One guy is firing 80 rounds. One guy. I don't know if those two cops combined had 80 rounds. Now, I don't know how else they would have defended themselves other than a firearm, but it...
No one's taking the cops' guns away. So what is the point you're even making? You think that the Fraternal Order of Police is gonna let their fucking cops' guns be taken away from them? Absolutely not. The cops in my state, in Illinois, are refusing to enforce our new statute, which outlaws ownership of assault rifles, because they claim it's violating the Second Amendment. Which, just in case you didn't know this, as a public servant, you don't get to decide that something is violating the Constitution. You are not a judge. You aren't even close. You got C's in high school and didn't go to college. You are not the person who gets to make decisions on whether or not a law or a statute, a fucking ordinance is constitutional. That's not your job. And every single cop would be fired for refusing to do their jobs. Will they? Of course not. But they could. I think this guy's low IQ, another requirement for being a cop. It's like 90% of the counties in Illinois. Well, to be fair, these counties have like no people in them. You know, these are sparse counties. Most of the population of Illinois is in the urban centers where, you know, they are gonna fucking do it, right? But we've got counties that are just like farms and 6 people.
Also comes out to who gets it out first. You know, personally, forget law enforcement, I have a 4.5-year-old son. I want to have a chance that, God forbid, I'm in a store and I see somebody down an aisle, or I hear
Oh, spooky. Thank you so much for subbing.
A sound that sounds like a firearm, that there's a good chance that at least my son's going to survive.
We're in a world where we are literally out-arming who's supposed to be protecting us. And it's all coming...
Southern Illinois can be insane. Oh, it's gross. I'm sorry. Southern Illinois is the south of the north. People in Southern and Central Illinois have country accents, like Southern accents. And it's like, bro, you are from the Midwest. Why do you have a Southern twang? This is so artificial.
From a place of fear. If we're thinking about how to protect our homes or to protect our families, there are better, lower risk ways to do that. And as someone who's been shot, having a gun on me would have not saved my life. If anything, it would have cost me my life, because it gives you this false concept of confidence in a life or death situation when your first instinct should be to flee or evade.
Yeah. What are your ideas about other cost-effective ways to defend yourself?
Well, when we think about
cost-effective, guns are expensive as fuck. What do you mean cost-effective? Guns are expensive as hell. I could go to Target and buy like 500 knives for the amount of money that you spent on one gun. But the best way to protect yourself is to run. And thank you, Ferd, because it is free. It is free to run.
Defending your home or your body or from harm or assault, the most impactful thing you can have is a known deterrent. A gun is not a known deterrent. And so when we think about keeping our home safe, specifically simple things like having a dog, having the lights on, having a fence, having a security system, a security camera, is more effective at protecting your home.
Bro, if you just put a sticker on the front window that says protected by, what is it, ABT, I don't remember. Just put that on the front of your house. You don't even have to buy the security system. That is a deterrent. Have a sign in the window that says protected by Pitbull or some shit. That is a deterrent. You don't even need to get the dog. Protected by cock and ball torture.
What do you guys think are actual, like, good ideas in terms of gun regulation, if any?
The question I have is, are we going after the guns, or are we going after the people that are using them illegally? The second something happens, they don't talk about the person that committed the crime, but if someone's not on the opposite side of the gun, it will never go off unless the trigger is pulled. And I think there needs to be more accountability, whether
Because, dipshit, America is the only industrialized Western nation that has this problem. The only one. And we can look at all the other countries and see how they stopped people from getting guns. Boom. Also, if guns are illegal and you see someone with a gun, you know that they have it illegally. You don't have to sit and, sit in your car and stuff your fucking face while you're running searches on your little porn laptop you've got to see if it's registered. And you wouldn't have to make sure that you are not violating someone's 14th Amendment right by depriving them of their legal property when you seize it. Check out the thin blue line hanky. Oh my God, he's such a bitch. He dressed like such a bitch.
They're legally or
Bro, you know those cops are jerking it in their cars.
Not legally used. There needs to be accountability for people to say, wait a minute, if I do something really dumb with this or hurt somebody, I might not see the light of day for a while.
We've created this image in America, and I partially...
It's illegal to shoot people. You can't make it more illegal to shoot people. It's already illegal. It is... What do you think is the solution? Just more laws to make it more illegal to murder somebody. It's already illegal and it's not fucking working.
blame the media that violence in black communities is a result of criminal activity, when in reality, most situations are interpersonal conflicts that are not connected to another felony. And that false sense of having a firearm will make me safer turns...
So the thing with the death penalty is, and we do have it in some states, it doesn't work as a deterrent unless the punishment is sure and it is swift. And in no place in the United States is the death penalty certain and swift. You'd have to be like, as soon as they're found guilty, shooting them in the head in the courtroom for that to act as a deterrent. But at the end of the day, I'm against the death penalty. So I don't see that as a viable solution.
What would have been a fist fight, an argument, into something that causes someone their life.
You move your finger and you end a human life. That's a responsibility that we should take a lot more seriously in this country.
Mr. Amish, let's go, baby. I joked at the beginning that he was going to be like a gun control guy, and boom, there he is, baby. Let's go.
You get convicted of domestic violence. No guns for you. Universal background checks, I think, would be a great idea. And I think the idea that we...
She's so pissed he's saying this.
...don't treat something that was created for killing people with that kind of respect is a really weird disconnect in this country.
I think a big problem with people have with like universal background checks, requiring regulation and accreditation. I teach and I give out certificates and all that, but states have been sued for the fact that they won't give it to BIPOC. They won't give it to poor people. They won't give these rights to trans people. You start denying these rights and like, oh, well, we regulate this, but we only give it to the rich and we only give it to the well-connected, right? And then on
if it is... I understand what he's saying, right? I get what he's saying. But universal background checks would be a federal program, not a state program. And I understand where he's coming from, but I fail to see how it's applicable in the case of purchasing guns. Because what is he talking about? Entitlement programs, benefits?
On the other side, we don't make education available to all these people that can't afford it. Like, why isn't it free? Why can't you go down to City Hall and take a class on how to teach your kids about firearm safety?
I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to teaching people how to shoot guns. Okay? I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to teaching kids how to shoot guns. I don't think that's a good use of that resource.
Kind of gotten rid of all of that. We've kind of moved to an abstinence-only education culture. If you have someone in your community who commits a crime, it's the community's fault. Like, how did that person get to that point?
A lot of folks here say that they...
Okay, I completely disagree with that. I fundamentally disagree that it is the community's fault that somebody commits a crime. I think that's bullshit. Like, it's not a failing of the community per se, particularly if that community is being failed by, you know, by the state, by the federal government more broadly. You don't have to put that burden on the community.
They own guns as a self-defense tool. How do we feel about that?
Shit is so bleak in America. Like, I don't blame people for feeling unsafe. Everyone here is concerned with survival. Everyone who picks up a gun is concerned with survival. There is this sense of despair in America when it comes to resource scarcity, food scarcity, housing scarcity, scarcity of care. People do not resort to terrible things when they have support, when they have a community, when they feel like their survival is not at stake.
In America, the two solutions that are introduced are too heavily focused on the individual and the gun. But a solution we never introduced is regulating the gun industry and the profiteers of massive amount of weapons being introduced into America. And I think that's something that in America we're not talking about. We're not talking about how do we hold the profiteers, the gun capitalists accountable in this.
That's a good point.
Conversation.
I mean, there are issues in doing that, which are that the NRA is well funded, that the gun lobby is well funded, that they've helped put people on not just the, you know, lower courts, but the Supreme Court. You know, so the obstacles that we'd have to overcome if we're going to go after the gun lobby itself are monumental.
We forget to talk about white nationalism and the fact that this country was a settler colonial country based on taking land from indigenous people and suppressing enslaved people. Gun conversation, as soon as you wade into it, is so frickin' racist. It's really misogynistic. And when we really start to zoom in on this stuff, we find levers. We can better identify where threats come from, what kinds of...
Yeah, I think she's making a good point, because there is some misogyny in it. It's like the idea that how are you, like, as a woman, going to protect yourself from the man who wants to do harm to you versus how are we as a society going to address this systemic violence against women? It's not a solution to the problem, right? Arming women doesn't solve the issue of domestic violence in this country. It doesn't at all, or gender-based violence in this country. It's just like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. So when you are the victim of domestic violence, you might have a gun that you could use to defend yourself, or you might have a gun in the house that he could pick up and use to shoot you, right? Instead of addressing the actual problem, the root cause of the problem, which is the gendered violence.
Discourse really start to put us in danger. And actually the gun industry...
And not just gendered violence, of course, also, you know, racial violence. I'm against gun control until cops are disarmed first. In my country, cops and military are the only ones with easy access to non-hunting firearms, and that should scare you. They send armed cops and military after land defenders who aren't able to purchase the same level of firepower. That I agree with. Absolutely.
Lobbies a lot and pays for the campaigns of a lot of people who condone this kind of culture. And so that's one lever in which I think we need to be put a lot more scrutiny on.
I agree with a lot of things from what everybody else said, but I feel like a lot of the gun control issues drown out the actual issues. Like, let's take school shootings, for example. School shootings are awful, they're horrible. But here's my question. What has been done to...
School shootings are awful, they're horrible, but...
make schools more secure.
Bro!
I do it.
Oh! You got to set up a trench around the school with a drawbridge. Are you fucking joking? Are you fucking kidding me? You know what would make the schools more secure?
Bruh.
No guns. If there were no guns, that would make the school more secure. That would stop school shootings. Not setting up elaborate Home Alone style booby traps in the hallway. But fucking taking away the guns. Are you joking? There was a police officer who shot a child in a classroom while doing a demonstration on gun safety not that long ago. We covered it on one of the shows I was on. I was just like, this is so American that a cop doing a demonstration on gun safety would accidentally shoot a child in a classroom.
executive protection and armed security, and I've been offered countless times jobs at schools. They pay $12, $13, $14 an hour. A single mother with 2 kids. That's
Bro, you're just this woman is going to be out there with her 15 guns just massacring the kids who are arriving late because they had orthodontist appointments in the morning. Like, I wouldn't feel safe sending my child to a school with you standing outside with a fucking gun. That doesn't reassure me. I'd be scared that you're going to shoot them. Who the fuck are you?
It's not a
She's right, sort of. School shootings account for a small fraction of gun deaths. Single murders with handguns are far more common. That's true. That is true. But I mean, she's specifically trying to talk about protecting schools from school shootings. And she thinks the way to do that apparently is to have armed guards at the school.
An amount I can work for, nor does it reflect my value as a security officer. But what is being done for it? We're not paying security extra. We're not, doing single points of entry. We're not reinforcing the perimeters. We're not doing.
It's not a war. It's not a fucking war zone. First of all, I'd never been to a school that didn't have single point of entry. We always had to go through the same fucking door when I was growing up. Whatever, middle school, high school, unless you had late arrival or whatever. Elementary school, you always had the door that you went through. But either way, it is an education. It's an educational space. It's, thank you, not a fucking prison. We don't need to have watch guards and security towers surrounding the perimeter of the school. It's fucking insane. What do you think that makes the kids feel? Prison-like schools are nothing new in some areas. Oh, yeah. I mean, I went to schools that had, we had single point of entry because we had to go through metal detectors. The schools I went to up until high school, despite being public schools, had uniforms to try to dissuade kids from, like, repping gang colors and shit. Like, I grew up in a severely underfunded and under-resourced community. Our education was desperately lacking. And it didn't feel good. It didn't feel good having to, walk through the metal detector every morning. It didn't feel good having to leave my backpack in my locker every day and, only be allowed to carry one binder and one textbook everywhere in the hallway.
Any of those things. We're focusing on gun control, and yet when this happens again, we're confused as to why it happened again, because nothing was done to stop the problem.
I don't think, turning schools into fortresses, having more armed security is the solution here. I'd rather have a part-time school counselor than a full-time, resource officer.
There are counselors, though.
But are they? Like, when you put a police officer in a school, you're creating an environment where you're putting students in jail or in prison instead of going after the problems. Instead of spending money on lockdown drills, crisis actors, we could give them more food security. Community garden is probably going to go way farther for their mental health than simulating gunfire in the hallways. If we do have school shooters, well, where are they coming from? They're coming from the school. We're letting these kids down.
In the post, I think he means people pretending, because some schools do have that. They'll have people come in and pretend to be shooters. I think that's what he meant when he said crisis actor, although that's not the common way it's used to refer to mass shootings. My school didn't have any of that shit. No uniforms, no metal detectors. We did have a lockdown in high school when a bear wandered onto campus. That's crazy. We had a lockdown in my high school when a kid brought a gun. Although he did not bring it into the school. Apparently he left it in his car. But I mean, I grew up post Columbine. We had school shooting drills that was normalized. And it's something that has stuck with me. Even in law school, I still feel anxious about where I sit in the classroom and about the points of entry and exit in the classrooms because of that, going through those drills my whole life. It's something that doesn't leave you, like that anxiety, that fear, because it doesn't just create preparedness, which is a good thing, but it also creates an expectation that eventually this is going to happen to you. And how are you going to get out when it does? And that sucks. It sucks. Like, even things like going to the movie. I don't like going to movie theaters. I don't like, for a million reasons, I don't like going to movie theaters. But one of the reasons is because I'm afraid of mass shootings after the Aurora shooting. I'm afraid that there won't be a good way to get out of the movie theater. Ironically, making schools more authoritarian creates more school shooters. That this kind of constant surveillance make kids paranoid and resentful. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
We're showing them the rehearsal, and then what? Tragedy?
Look at where the money in the communities is going already, and that's law enforcement, who want more money and more weapons to make everyone safer, inflated crime statistics, whatever it takes. Because sadly, this works in elections. It works on parents. It works on families who don't know what else to do. But there are so many places to put money in a community, and we are starving those places out of existence.
I want to ask Joey, as a police officer, when you hear this group talking about...
As a police officer, have you understood the bigger words that people have been using? Would you like us to, thesaurus an easier 4-letter word for you to understand in their place?
Cops getting money that they might not put to good use? How does that sit with you?
You know, it's hard. No one sees what police officers are doing every single day. They hear a news clip.
I've seen what... Bro, I was taking the train back from school yesterday, and standing on the platform were 7 cops. No crime happening, just 7 uniformed police officers, all with guns, just standing around, doing fuck all, doing absolutely nothing, just shooting the shit on the platform. That's where my taxpayer dollars are going.
They get 10 seconds of what happened in a 5-minute situation right off the bat. Do I think?
I'm fairly certain the #1 cause of death for cops the past couple of years was COVID. But before that, it was the car accidents. Not intentional, not someone ramming their car into the police car to try to kill cops, because they're not paying attention when they're fucking driving. Also, heart disease. One of the main killers of cops. Their own fucking hearts.
I think we need to change and move ahead with the times 100%.
I'll say Chicago was really brazen with its propaganda, especially recently. We have all these officer down billboards, which are so fucking funny. But almost if you Google the name of the officer that they put up on the poster on the billboards, 9 times out of 10, that cop died from COVID. And it's like, why do you make it seem like this cop got shot? They literally refused to get a shot, and that's why they fucking died.
You can't go today with what happened 20 years ago, but you can't also criticize all the time and say, well, take away cops altogether, because that's not going to work.
That's not going to work, because then he'll be out of a job and he isn't qualified to do anything else. He knows it. You can't take away cops, because then how else am I supposed to terrorize people and not have consequences? Come on, look at me. I'm not cut out for any other kind of work.
Did not say that cops should be taken away altogether. This is an area that resists reform, resists regulation. We don't get to see the inner workings of everything. We can give cops body cams, but we can't make them switch them on. And any government body that refuses to be regulated.
The thin blue line signs and flags and support our police signs have taken over in suburban neighborhoods. It's frustrating for sure. If we fire all the cops, they will turn into ISIS, but in the US.
Resists transparency should not.
Bro, I was literally thinking of Detroit urban survival earlier. I was thinking about that earlier when this woman was talking. That guy is a riot. I respect him, low-key. I respect the grift.
Be increasingly armed, should not be increasingly funded. If you want respect, transparency is the way. If you want,
I mean, just look at Uvalde. Their police department has a SWAT team. Like over half of their budget goes to the police. Did they stop the shooting? No. Did they immediately enter the building to apprehend the shooter? No. They sat around and jerked themselves off for over an hour before they finally fucking got the nerve up to go do something. 17 kids died, and it could have been a lot less if they had fucking done their jobs. And giving, surprise, surprise, half of the budget to them, giving them this fucking SWAT team didn't help. Didn't fucking help. Didn't stop that shooting from happening. Didn't save lives that day.
People to trust you.
Oh, yeah, 70%.
You have to show them why you're trustworthy. But we need so much more from police.
There's a lot of oversight and accountability that I don't see with the police, and police are people, you know?
I've been applying for jobs, you know, that I'm about to graduate law school. And every time I go on Indeed and look up entry-level attorney, like six top results are all working for the city of Chicago, defending police in civil rights cases. I'm like, bro, there's got to be a better life than this. This can't be all that's out there, man. I'm not graduating law school to go fucking defend the cops. Cops are people, I mean, technically, but yeah. Yeah, I would disagree with that point, too. 2 months long, 2 months strong. The revolution will not be televised, but it will be streamed on Twitch by Rayyvana. Thank you so much for resubbing, Carbide, and thank you for that wonderful message.
People have the full range of what they're capable of. And we have seen enough evidence that there are police officers who abuse that power. And I think that the real fact that there is no oversight and ability to ensure that they are doing their jobs well is a real problem with people who are licensed to kill.
And just to add to that point, here in Chicago, we do have a citizens police oversight committee. We do have that. And the police refuse to work with them. Just the police union, the Fraternal Order of Police, heavily arguing against having to work with the citizen oversight. So even in places where an attempt has been made to have some oversight for the police, they are resisting it at every fucking turn because they know they're fucked up. They don't want to be accountable.
False, though. You would make it seem like cops are running rampant. There's a lot more oversight than people know, whether it's federally, city-wise, and there are bad apples, and there's people out there that should not be police.
The bad apple example, that phrase is so stupid to use because the full phrase is, a bad apple ruins the bunch. So they're being bad cops, and those bad cops being protected by other cops makes all of them bad cops. All of them are bad because of that, because you, as an institution, protect the worst of you.
Officers, and there's nothing more than a good cop that doesn't want a bad cop on the street. The oversight, there's a lot more than people know.
Bro, this guy is barely articulate. This man cannot formulate sentences.
Everyone's word for it, though, from inside.
His relationship with grammar and sentence structure is a loose one.
I don't know what that means.
I'm saying that.
I know he says that a lot. I know he finds himself saying that a lot. I don't know what that means.
You're saying that there's lots of oversight, but again, we just have to believe that because anytime someone from outside attempts to explore that, it's obstruction 100% of the way.
I wouldn't agree with that.
I really struggle with this.
Of course you wouldn't, bitch.
This concept that we have to fund communities or fund police. No, we have the resources to fund these communities, to fund solutions that we know work, to invest in education, to invest in violence intervention and victims. Like, we're not willing to prioritize life, then we're going to pay the cost on the back end. And one other thing, I think we have to remember that this is not just a crime crisis. You know, 2/3 of lives lost are lost by suicide with guns. This is really a public health crisis, and we keep pivoting back to crime control strategies, and it's failing.
No, he nailed it. We're the richest country in the world, and we can't make sure everyone is secure in their life, doesn't have fears. You want to sell less guns? Make people less fearful. People plan for their fears. Why do people buy guns? Well, they want to feel safer. Well, why do they need to feel safer? Well, because of their community. It's just like, okay, what can we do for their community, right?
Just to add to that, he's right, but one of the reasons that happens is because particularly local news sensationalizes crime when it happens, despite the fact that crime rates have been going down, you know, since then. I mean, from the fucking 90s, crime is massively down, like tremendously down everywhere in the country. Christina, thank you so much for the biddies. But it is these local news stations and, you know, right-wing news networks and NRA-backed advertising that creates this fear in people that they are going to be the victims of crime, despite the fact that crime's going down. And then it's also, on the other hand, cops who are refusing to work with progressive prosecutors, DAs. I'm sort of iffy on the existence of a progressive prosecutor at the end of the day, but they're refusing to enforce the law. They're refusing to do their fucking job and then creating fear out of that. They're trying to frame it as though, why should we even arrest people? They're not going to be prosecuted, when that's not happening. That's not happening. They're just refusing to do their job and creating a problem. That's what we saw in San Francisco. That's how that progressive DA got ousted.
I do not believe that police can in any means
Hi,
provide
Reedsters.
security and safety for us. And a huge part of, you know, wanting to own guns is an aspect of, you know, police failing us. And so to suggest that it's anecdotals, that it's just a couple of bad apples within the system is completely incorrect. We have seen the system fail people and fail to really protect individuals. And so this suggestion that we can fund both, that we can fund both our sense of security and our sense of safety, as well as funding the police departments, is completely false, because a huge aspect of our safety being a detriment is, in fact, the police state's initiatives.
What changes would make a difference in the real world, practically speaking? Kendra, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
I'm a range safety officer, and as long as I've worked on the range, I have seen police come there and train once, right before their qual, or not even, they only come for their qualification. And I have some friends that they train pretty often, but the vast majority, I outshoot them by hundreds of rounds, and I just don't understand that. I do situational training, I do verbal judo so that I know how to de-escalate situations when I encounter them, and I feel like that's what the police force is missing. They need that consistent training with current events that are going on, with different situations, with their firearms, so that they...
Well, I think that one of the issues with what she's saying right now is you can't have a de-escalation tactic when you have a gun strapped to you. She's not a cop, no. She's a gun range safety security officer. She works in security. She's not a police officer though. Private security, I think is what she said earlier. But like when it comes to the idea of de-escalation is an important tactic. I had to learn de-escalation tactics when I worked at a school for kids with behavioral disabilities. They work great if you're actually committed to following through on them, and you're committed to, you know, constantly learning the new techniques and maintaining your education on how to do it and being able to keep your emotions in check while going through the de-escalation process. But you cannot de-escalate with the threat of being shot, which is why cops are not well situated. They're not well suited to do de-escalation. Range safety officer, they're the ones that make sure gun nuts don't go crazy and show off to put people in danger.
They can better protect us. That's what they're there for, and there's no getting rid of them.
I disagree.
I was asked to train new district cops once. Worst 1 hour of my life. They were worse than freshmen. One time I work, I do volunteer work with the National Lawyers Guild. So if any of you guys are, you know, go to protest, we're the people with the green caps, do legal observing. We watch the cops so you don't have to and all that jazz. And we walked, they were marching, the protesters were marching past the Fraternal Order of Police, one of their buildings here in Chicago. And the cops were all out in the yard, pressed up against the fence like fucking animals at the zoo, like making animal noises at the protesters. One of the cops, he must have been like 56. He was not young. Points at one of the protesters, calls him by his name, which I found super concerning, and then says, "I fucked your mom last night." Oh, thank you so much for the raid, TYT. The raiders, welcome, welcome. I hope you had a wonderful, happy half hour. Happy Wednesday. Continuing your Wednesday, we are watching this debate on gun violence and gun laws that Vice put together. Join just to hear I fucked your mom. I was talking about, I do legal observing a protest, the people in the lime green hats. Oh, Al, thank you so much for resubbing. And we're talking about how police are immature. And there was a bunch of police officers of the Fraternal Order of Police that the protesters were marching past, like pressed up against the fence, yelling obscenities at the protesters. And one of them who, like, he was in his 50s. This is a grown-ass man who's a police officer in uniform, started yelling at one of the protesters, called him out by his name, one of the protesters, and then said, I fucked your mom last night. Just disgusting. These are children. Children with guns.
The firearm is the last...
Here's the thing, Chicago cops were the worst. Then I spent 2 months in Boston. Nothing more than the most racist frat boys you've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, cops in Chicago are bad, but Boston does it different. They got some next level racism over there. Old school racism. Slurs that you've never even heard.
Police officer uses, I hope Joey agrees, if they're only spending 1 day at the range and because they only think they're going to use their gun that little.
What about arming? She's been talking about that. Aunt Niece, this woman in the front here, has been talking about that. Becca, thank you so much for resubbing. For 9 months, our Twitch baby's been born. Just one of those times when you come in and go, ah, hells, what is going on? Then you think, you can't make this stuff up. They're ahead of the slur curve. They are the Steven Crowder to Chicago's Candace Owens. That's true.
Spending all their time training de-escalation and learning about the community and being a part of it. I'm fine with that.
But I did mention de-escalation.
No, but you mentioned it for yourself, though.
No, for police, they need.
But police officers don't learn de-escalation at the firing range.
They should. Well,
they learn.
You shouldn't. This is what I was saying before, the slurve. You cannot own, you cannot do de-escalation with a gun on your hip. It is inherently contradictory. You are not de-escalating shit when you have a gun strapped to you. You're only escalating, which is why police officers are not well situated to do de-escalation. Not to mention the fact that they're not emotionally mature enough to engage in de-escalation. I own guns. I am a leftist. I do believe that it should be harder for people with mental health problems to obtain guns. I have no problem altering the Second Amendment to keeping guns away from mentally insane people, but I think a big issue with why mass shootings occur is because American standard of living are deteriorating, and it is making people go postal. A good way of alleviating this is to do things leftists say all day, every day. Should provide people with housing, food, etc. Yes, the people are making that point. The Amish guy, you'll know who I'm talking about when he comes on the screen. The Amish guy is like a leftist gun owner.
To, shoot accurately, hopefully, and kill, inevitably.
There needs to be a balance. 100%.
And this guy is obviously a cop. You could tell that by his phenotype.
100%. When you defund the police lack in training. That's a problem.
Where have we defunded the police? Where have we defunded the police where we have seen this happen? I know his eyebrows are overplucked. They're so bad. I don't know, the people are suffering, maybe accounting for a lot of gun violence, but certainly not the mass shooter stuff. Mass shooting stuff, I think, is an entirely different situation. But that is not accounting for most gun crime, right? The thumb features, I knew he was a cop.
Need to be trained because everything in life is muscle memory. The number one thing you should do is use your mouth, no matter what you do. You go out there.
If this guy enters a situation, I promise you there is no de-escalation happening.
Talk, and that's where the de-escalation comes in. But by no means a police officer is going out there in their head and say, I want to use my gun today. No, that's the last thing on their mind. Policing has gone away from enforcement nationally, which it should have, and is more community police-based. And that's where the funding goes to.
Narc, thank you so much for gifting 5 subs and helping 5 people not have to see ads. And getting custom emotes in chat. You're wonderful. Thank you. If you got a gifted sub, make sure to say thank you to Narc. The arguments for the Second Amendment would make sense in a vacuum, but America is the only country with this level of gun violence, and the only other unique feature is our interpretation of gun rights. Yeah, that's pretty much the point I've been making.
So we can go and change the outlook of what policing has, unfortunately, looked like it's become.
I just think we also have to realize by the time the phone is calling 911, in most shootings, it's too late. It's too late. When I was shot, law enforcement didn't show up till 15 minutes later. My cousin tied my tourniquet, and the bullet hit 2 arteries. I was bleeding to death. I would have died before an officer...
What are you nodding along? He's saying that you guys didn't do your fucking job.
Arrived. And I think if we continue to look at gun violence as something that law enforcement can solve, we're missing it. We take these big assumptions and apply them to reality when it's untrue.
We've been talking a lot about training, and way supportive of that. But I also really think there needs to be accountability injected into this, where if a cop does something ranging from lightly illegal to murder, there should be accountability for that. And I think the strange thing I see is this sort of closing ranks around the
Oh, Anon, thank you so much for gifting a tier 3 sub to Narc. That was very, very nice of you.
these bad apples, even though there's also an acknowledgement that they exist. And I think people will be far less likely to
Bro, this guy dressed up like a dick.
look at police with fear if they
This guy is literally Amish, dressed Amish. And you are the biggest asshole on the panel. Somehow. This man came in he literally ran off the set of Escaping Amish. Just finished filming the next season for TLC. And you are dressed like the biggest dork on this panel, somehow.
understand that if that cop does something they're not supposed to, there's accountability. I mean, Joey said he does not want those people walking around.
Ray, feelings on the Socialist Rifle Association. I like the SRA. They're involved in a lot of the actions here in Chicago that I'm involved with. I see them all the time when I'm doing legal observing with the NLG. I like the SRA. Look at the cop's demeanor while the Amish guy is talking about accountability. He is so livid. He is so livid. His butt cheeks are clenched so tightly. He is grinding his teeth to further nubs than they already were. He is so enraged at the concept of being held accountable.
And I suspect that that is a pretty common view, and I don't know why those cops are protected then.
Right now, a lot of the conversation around guns is driven by mass shootings, and particularly school shootings. What is the solution to mass shootings in schools?
More protection for our children, not creating a prison environment. We need to make sure that they understand.
You, earlier in this very debate, now you're saying don't create a prison environment. You said that the school needs armed guards and they need to secure the perimeter. Are you fucking joking? You literally said schools need to secure their perimeter. What the fuck are you talking about? You said that you wanted to be stationed, posted up outside of school with your AR-15. The fuck are you talking about? Not like a prison. You want them to be prisons.
And that the police are their friends and they're there to protect them.
But they are not. But they are not their friends. And when police officers are stationed in schools, there is a higher likelihood that they will be brought in for behavioral issues and that the kids will go to prison. It's literally the school to prison pipeline. We see it happen all the time. Statistically, it has been proven that schools with police officers stationed at the schools, school resource officers, have higher rates of students going to juvie or going to prison. And it's not because they have worse behavioral issues. It's because the teachers and the administration, they see the police officer as a source of discipline. And the police officer's form of discipline is jail.
Education is what's going to empower everybody. So we need to educate them on all levels.
And yeah, of course, statistically, it's most likely that those students who are going to be sent to prison are Black students, are brown students, students of color, predominantly. Even in school, like even looking at a single school, comparing discipline for the same issue for a Black student and a white student. There are cases where the Black student gets sent to jail and the white student gets a slap on the wrist.
Firearms, not just school security, but how to take care of themselves and each other.
I was one of those kids who was trained that way and raised that way, not to be super dramatic about it, but things took a turn for me, and I could have been one of the kids on the other side of that gun. I fantasized about it. I was reading things. Of course, you become secretive as a result of this. You hide from the people who know you the most. There's a protectiveness around these issues that is very difficult.
That military woman has barely spoken in this debate. Although I don't know if I would confess to that.
To penetrate because it is so bound up in our sense of safety and our sense of family, and it's very difficult to address these because what makes one person safe does not necessarily make someone else feel safe.
I think that mental health is important. Like you said, sometimes your mind went to other places, and that's.
But you want the schools to be paying more money to security officers when they're already severely underpaying and overutilizing and underpaying, not overutilizing, but overworking and underpaying social workers, counselors. You want to divert more funds to armed guards.
I'm saying that we need to empower them because without mental health, without good mental health, you can't make any decisions about anything else in a healthy, productive manner. So we need to start empowering.
I also don't like the ableist framing of that. Plenty of people live with mental illness through no fault of their own. Having a mental illness doesn't make you unable to make decisions for yourself. Doesn't, make you more violent. Makes you more likely to harm yourself than to harm others. Not that there's no place for mental health discussions when it comes to gun violence. Of course there is. But this sort of, essentializing what it means to have a mental illness as being, some debilitating thing, as opposed to, it only stands to further stigmatize mental illness and prevent people from actually getting treatment and getting, healthcare that they need, that they deserve.
Our children's minds and taking care of their mental health first and foremost.
I am living proof of the fact that the problem does exist and it does haunt people. And I was able to come back from a place that other people might not be able to come back from. And I'm not saying it's a danger for everyone, but I'm saying we can't reach everybody that way. Every community is different. Every community has needs and the needs need to be addressed. That's why I don't think there's a hope for a federal change that will solve school shootings, or maybe even a statewide change, because states are big and house lots of different populations.
I was in elementary school when Columbine happened, and when the
He is way older than I thought he was. He is way older than I thought he was.
national sort of injection of those drills into schools happened, and it really messed up my sense of safety. I didn't personally feel more prepared from those drills. I felt afraid in a new place.
Thank you, because that is what I was saying earlier, because I was born post-Columbine, all through school. I said this earlier, but I'll reiterate now because there's a lot more people who weren't here earlier. We did those trainings from kindergarten till I graduated. We had trainings even in college for that. It didn't make me feel safer. It just made me feel more anxious. And that's a feeling that I have yet to be able to shake. Even in law school, I find myself positioning myself close to the exit, thinking about how the fuck am I going to get out of this room if someone pulls a gun out? What am I going to do? How am I going to get out of here? Looking at the exits and things like that. Is he Amish? He said he's from rural Pennsylvania, so I'm going to assume he's Amish. I've been calling him the Amish boy, but now that I know that he has such a baby face, I thought he was much younger than he must be. Because if he was in elementary school during Columbine, I just assumed he was like my age.
By the time we're bracing our schools for a mass shooter, it's too late. And so I think that if we really want to address this, you need to look at why these kids are feeling so isolated in the first place. You need to look at what are the conditions of their community that they are existing in.
But we're operating in reality where
I'm not saying he's old. I'm just saying that he looks young. He looks younger than he is.
See it and we keep brushing it under the rug. And our children are dying, and I get really frustrated about this focus on just mass shootings and just school shootings because our kids are not safe anywhere. They're not safe in their homes. They're not safe in their neighborhoods. And I think the real solution is not to bring more guns into the situation. I think it's really to invest in people, invest in our kids and their wellness.
If we're continuously working on ourselves and seeking help for things that we need, I think things will get better in the long run. But some people have, the pride's a little high. And I think that's just something that we need to bring down and, again, normalize seeking help and that being okay.
It's not an individual problem, though. It's not an issue that you can just work on and solve within your own life, though, because most gun violence is happening, not in schools, honestly, but it's a crime of poverty, and you can't self-help your way out of poverty. I mean, not in most cases. Can't start to fix the mental health issue without UHC in this nation. Yeah. After Columbine, they made us get transparent /mesh backpacks, tucked in shirts, belts, no cargo pockets. Yeah, I worked at a school where the kids had to have clear backpacks.
Money's a little low, and the access to healthcare is a little low, too.
But it's also improving. I've seen plenty of different options.
It is not improving. In what world is healthcare access improving in this country? It absolutely is not. What the fuck are you talking about?
For kids and their counselors in school. There's anonymous things online.
Anonymous things online. No, by the way, we have not just a teacher crisis in this country, a lack of teachers because we're not paying them enough. We have a lack of social workers in schools, overworked social workers, underpaid social workers, overworked counselors, underpaid counselors. In the cases where the schools even have social workers and counselors, because a lot of them don't. Just having the internet isn't, especially like in an anonymous format, there are useful tools for kids who are, but it's mostly for kids who are trapped in discriminatory households. Like the Trevor Project, I think, is a wonderful organization for, trans LGBTQ youth who are, for a lot of them, facing discrimination within their household. So they can't even really access the, tools, the resources that they need. But that's not a solution for every child, especially when it comes to other, that's not a mental health issue, but like when it comes to, mental illness and things like that, having an anonymous person chatting with you online isn't a solution. It's not getting treatment. It's not, it's not a solution to the problem. I'm sorry. It's silly to even insinuate that it is. And not all people have access to the internet, high-speed internet.
So as it wasn't
I got so fucking mad at this topic earlier today. I posted on Facebook a memory of going to lunches with my oldest whenever he'd ask. I mentioned I only missed one time because when I showed up to the school, I found out they were on lockdown because of a shooting threat. Oh my God. One of my friends just said to do virtual school. She's also someone who thinks we should all stay gardening and have a chicken or goat because the government's trying to control us. Jesus Christ.
Topic conversation before, it definitely is now. And it might be moving slow, but it definitely is moving in that direction.
Not in my neighborhood, though. And I tell you what's happening right now in our neighborhoods. You're traumatized, here's a gun, deal with it.
Now,
that's not the way.
Don't get me wrong.
And that's what I'm really struggling with. But in my neighborhood, people are dying. We're dying. And so we can't just sit here and say, hey, pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Thank you.
People are laying on the concrete.
One thing that came up earlier was universal background
Why did that woman look like she was crying?
checks. And I'm curious, does everyone...
Hi, Chris Huggy. Thank you so much for the sub. My favorite streamer. Glad to celebrate my sub anniversary. Oh, 16 months. That's wonderful. Thank you. I'm happy to see you.
here support universal background checks on all gun purchases? And if so, why or why not?
At the gun store, may I redo this, please? Gun purchase form. Do you want to die? Do you want to kill people? Are you insane?
If I want to give anyone on this panel a background check, I can't do it. I have to go to a store with a license, and they can do it, and they usually do it at a cost, right? Why don't we just open up the background check system? Like, why don't we give people the opportunity to have personal responsibility when they transfer firearms from person to person? We have vaccine passports. Why can't we have opt-in, firearm passports?
Universal.
Hold on, what? No. I mean, if you make it illegal to do person-to-person gun sales and have universal background checks, boom, your problem is solved. Versus, like, they're not going to do the background check. Some fucking, like, hillbilly at a gun show isn't going to do the background check, even if he has access to do it. That's not a solution.
Universal background checks, in theory, sounds great. Well, I am a domestic violence survivor, right? Say I have to go to this medical professional, this mental health person, and I have to explain to her why
mental health person
want this firearm. Based off of her own biases about me as a Black woman, Army veteran, survivor of domestic violence, she may say, because of those things, I should not be allowed to own and use a firearm for my own self-defense.
I understand the racial bias. I get what she's saying in that regard. I'm gonna just let her finish.
So how do we decide who gets to have the firearms based off of their mental health background and who doesn't?
The background check system does save lives. And I think there are some tragedies that could have been avoided if we had a stronger background check.
There are measures we have in Canada, countrywide background checks, and you need to have a license to buy. I mean, in Illinois, you have to have a license to own a gun. Well, the gun is still registered in the seller's name, just like the license plate on a sold used car. They are supposed to be unbiased, but I understand that. She's a bit of a point, but yeah, I mean, what she's saying makes sense to some extent. To an extent.
System. Charleston, for example, young man applied for the background check.
So, Earl, you done failed the background check there, but I got some good news for you.
After the deadline, they said, okay, well, we haven't seen any flags yet. Go ahead and purchase the firearm. And he went into a church and slaughtered black folks. And I do think that there's real questions about bias and how these systems are applied and what the different flags look like. And I really think we have to get more focused on what is the goal here. Is the goal to preserve some perceived right, or is the goal to save lives?
So let's say somebody does this universal background check, and then there's an existing gun registry, and they register on it, and they've cleared all of these things, but then they still go out and commit a murder. There's no room with little green lights that says, because this person registered on all accounts, we're keeping track of them, and all of a sudden this green light has gone off, and yes, we know this person's about to commit a murder. So again, speaking of prevention, what is that preventing?
But we do that with—
Well, I mean, it's preventing them from doing it again. But I mean, like, to that point, then, if you have too many accidents, they shouldn't be able to take away your driver's license. You know, if you get too many tickets, they shouldn't be able to take away your driver's license. I think I think it's a moderately good system that we use to license people to drive. But we can't do the same thing for guns. Also, it's already illegal to kill people. So the solution to the problem you're raising is to have no guns. But you don't want to talk about that because you don't believe in that. But if you're worried that it's not doing enough to prevent, you know, people from getting guns, which first of all, it's going to stop people who have a history of violence from getting guns. Would a universal background check stop somebody who has no history of violence from getting a gun, you know, no history of concerning statements or, you know, concerning Google searches? No, it's not going to stop them. But it's going to stop the guy who has, you know, multiple domestic battery charges from buying a gun and killing his girlfriend. But if you want to stop everyone from buying a gun legally and then using it to commit a crime, make it illegal to buy a gun. Make it illegal to own a gun. I don't know if that's the solution, but that's a solution. If you're concerned that this is not going to go far enough.
Automobiles, right? If you get how many drunk driving incidents or speeding tickets, at some point your license gets revoked, right? Because they're like, hey, we don't entrust you with this car anymore.
Also, the idea that they're not monitoring the person with the gun. If they commit another crime, it absolutely would come up on that background check. It would absolutely be a red flag.
Because you could harm someone else or yourself.
But that is the thing, though, with firearms. When you have a weapons carry license and you commit a crime, they revoke your weapons carry license. But we're talking about if they haven't committed a crime yet, we can't predict. There's no way for us to know what's going to happen in the future.
That's not true in every state. That is not the case in every state. There are different, you know, categories of crimes that they would revoke you for having a gun after you commit it. But there are plenty of crimes that they would not take your gun away in plenty of states.
But right now, our background check system has loopholes where even after you commit a crime, you still can keep your firearm or purchase your firearm.
So illegally,
I see what you're saying.
Right, illegally. So no law legally. Or policy, there is no way to legally purchase a firearm.
The boyfriend loophole is a perfect one.
So that's illegal. I do this every day on the 4473. It's the ATF form you fill out to legally purchase a firearm. Are you the actual transferee or buyer of this firearm? So if I am a girlfriend and I'm buying a gun for my boyfriend, that is already a federal crime. It's already illegal.
The boyfriend loophole that I think you're speaking to, the fact that if someone assaults their girlfriend, that doesn't necessarily go down in the record as the same way as if he assaults his wife. And so if you assault your wife, then that becomes something that forbids you from getting a firearm. But if you assault your girlfriend, even if you're convicted of that, it doesn't necessarily go on the record in a way that prevents you from getting a gun. We're not going to.
She's like, it's my job to help people fill out these forms. And he's like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't like that she's helping people fill out those forms now. Oh, it was funny for a moment, but now it's kind of sad and a little scary.
To eliminate every person who wants to commit a crime. The goal is to bring the numbers down and to take out the ones we can. You know, we don't live in a society right now where things are crushing it. So I kind of feel like—
I don't think this guy is Amish. He said he was raised in rural Pennsylvania. Maybe he's, oh, the show's called Breaking Amish. Maybe he's breaking Amish.
Some of these possibilities, you know, there's always going to be drawbacks to things that we try and do. I question whether they are worse than
or maybe it's just a fashion thing, Amish core.
Amount of boyfriends who kill their girlfriends now.
I want to bring it back to the gun question because we keep talking about mental health, and there are specific laws that deal with this. Red flag laws. If someone has a mental health crisis, those laws exist to try to take the gun away from that person before they commit a crime. How do we feel about that?
I'm pretty pro red flag laws. I understand that these laws should be implemented very carefully. There's a lot that goes into the rules portion of passing these bills that should be very well thought out. But I think the overarching question needs to become, do you agree that people who are in certain situations should have guns or not? But I personally think that there are characteristics you can meet, there are situations you can be in where, yeah, I do not want you owning a gun.
Well, I think the question is not so much whether or not people should have guns in certain situations. I think most people would agree, you know, there are certain people who should not have guns. But I think the question is more so, will the United States of America truly take away guns from those that need to have their guns taken away? And I think the answer to that question—
Well, I mean, just to sort of skirt around the entire, you know, debate about mental health, most gun crime is not like, we're, you know, when we think about mental health crises, we're thinking about mass shootings, which are a fucking problem. But most gun crime is not by someone who has a mental illness or a history of mental illness. Like, that's just not the like root cause of it. So it's not like it's not an important conversation to be had. But I mean, if we want to get to the core of the issue, most deaths by guns are actually suicide, sadly. Yeah, which I mean, is a mental health issue. But if we're talking about like murder, we're talking about murder. So let's be clear, the people committing these crimes have not been caught by red flag laws. I mean, some of them would have been, but not all of them.
Is no. The United States of America has very easily labeled people criminal that they should not be labeling criminal. And they're more concerned about profiting off of that label than they are actually preventing violence. And so the question is not so much should red flag laws exist. The question is more so, will the United States of America actually enforce the law the way it needs to be enforced? And no, the United States will not.
I'm curious, who are the people who you think shouldn't have guns? You say—
What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? What did you send me? Interesting gun crime stat.
Hey, there are certain people. What do you have in mind?
Well, I certainly think plenty of right-wing ideologues should not have guns. I think plenty of violently anti-trans people should not have guns. I think violent misogynists should not have guns. I think violent racists should not have guns. I think those who have the audacity to believe in ideology that is, in fact, an incredible danger to most of us who are in society that do not look like them, should not have access to guns.
With all this legislation, the question is, who do we have drawing it up? The people who never owned a gun? Or the people that have owned guns? You know, what's the right answer? I don't have that.
Who's drafting the legislation on guns right now? The fucking NRA. the fucking NRA, the gun lobbies. Because you know when it comes to most legislation that's being pushed for by lobbying organizations, they write the legislation and give it to the Congress people who they think will champion it. They write it themselves. Literal word for word legislation. Exactly.
I think everyone should have a right to carry a gun, but we've touched on it. You know, if you're a violent person, you shouldn't have it. Domestic violence history, shouldn't have it. Drug trafficking.
Bro, you're a cop, okay? You shouldn't be talking about domestic violence history. At least 40% of your buddies would not be allowed to be cops. At least 40% of your buddies. The number is probably higher.
Sex trafficking, because a lot of times in the law enforcement world, when you have a lot of drugs, you end up having a couple guns. If you're sex trafficking, there's someone probably with a gun.
How are we going to make sure bias isn't playing a part?
What do you mean I won't show the cup that you sent me? I was drinking out of it on one of the shows the other week. I literally had it on my desk. I was taking sips of it. I don't remember. Maybe when I was hosting Watch List, I had it. The shirt is in the laundry. I wear it to bed a lot. It's really comfy.
The people who are enforcing the red flag laws, there are some elitist people in this country who feel like, well, only we should be protected by firearms. The onus should not be on our government, I think, as a society.
So then wouldn't a solution also be that no one is protected by firearms? See, that's the thing with these conservative arguments. They also work if you just say, they're posing these problems, right? Like, oh, they're going to deny gun ownership to these specific groups of people, then deny it to everyone. Oh, only the elites get to have guns and be protected by guns. Then make no one protected by guns. Then let nobody have them. That also solves the problem that you have raised.
As an adult in this country, there should be some responsibility in knowing yourself and being able to identify when you are okay and when you're not okay. So I think we need to figure out a way.
Are you joking? Just take mental inventory before you buy a gun. Well, yesterday I drew a picture of me eliminating everybody in my English class, but today I'm feeling good. So yeah, I think I'm okay to get a gun. Just do a mental checkup on yourself. That's sufficient, apparently.
A way to give the people the tools they need to identify themselves. Hey, I'm not okay. Hey, I don't need to have my firearms right now. Hey, I probably am going to hurt myself or someone else, and then provide the resources to do that.
I mean, that sounds great in theory. In reality, though, that's not going to happen every time. And I'm curious what you think is the threshold where somebody should say, you can't have a gun anymore.
I don't think that decision should hinge on one person or just an attorney or just a judge or just a mental health professional, because I've seen in a lot of these red flag instances, these people never get their firearms back. Well, if my mental health is declined this day or this month is tough for me, but then, I go to therapy or I fix myself and I'm better months from now, I should have my rights restored. You can't keep them forever, right?
That is how it works. That is literally how those laws work now. In America. That is how those laws work now. Fucking hell, what are you talking about? That is where the black laws work. You don't know what you're saying.
I think there should be a process for that as well.
I think those protections and checks and balances are just critical.
There is a process for that. I'm sorry. I know that the laws in Illinois around gun, it's like 5 years after you need to be institutionalized, which I don't really like that. I don't like that exists, to be fair. But if you do an inpatient mental health rehabilitative service, you have to wait 5 years afterwards, 5 or 10 years, and then you can have your gun back. Or you can petition to get it back. And then you have to provide, psychiatric documentation. But isn't she a legal analyst or something? She's former military, and she said that she helps people buy guns. She helps them fill out the forms.
Critical, because right now America criminalizes black men. There's no doubt about it. I've been through it. I've never been caught for some type of violence offense, but I've had guns drawn on me by law enforcement 5 times, right? When I was shot, when I arrived at the hospital, I wasn't met with a nurse or a doctor or a surgeon. I was met with 3 investigators. And they asked me, where's my gun? And in my situation, they were more focused on solving the crime than saving my life. And I think we have to really see that reality that's impacting our communities every day before we push forward laws and legislation that adds more authority and resources to a system that's biased against us already.
So there's a lot of times that there's a red flag law that's called, and there's uniformed police officers who go to remove a firearm from the situation, who might have biases, who might have racial ideologies in their head. And I think that's a lot of confrontation. I feel like there's a lack of training. The police officers that go to serve these red flag laws, there needs to be a lot of checks and balances, and there needs to be a lot of accountability in how these things are executed.
When we talk about regulation and laws,
I'm sorry, she said nothing. It was just a lot of buzzwords. That was just a lot of buzzwords.
People need to understand, like, especially on the left, oh, this is going to take the firearms away from the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and the 3%ers and the white militiamen. It really, they're not. Those people don't have any interactions with the
not from him, from her.
Police normally, right? You pass these laws, you're going after black men, you're going after brown men, you're going after poor people.
At the end of the day, there's systemic racism, and then it leads to black and brown people being criminalized. And I'm curious, when it comes to passing more gun laws, how do you think we could avoid that in going forward?
I really think we have to think about what is the goal. Are we trying to save lives or solve crimes? And if we're trying to save lives, then we can't just keep putting it on the backs of the criminal legal system. We can't incarcerate our way out of this situation. If that was the case, Louisiana would be the safest city in the country. But it's not. It's one of the most deadliest. So you have the highest level of incarceration and the highest level of gun violence in one state. This is something where we have to think about legislation and laws that provide more resources for the communities that are most vulnerable and at risk to violence.
He's right.
Curious to talk to folks and see, do you support restrictions on specific types of guns like the AR-15, for example? If so, why or why not?
You know why the AR-15 is popular is because it's affordable. You can customize it to whatever you need to do, whether it's self-defense, hunting, target shooting.
I think what you just said, though, is part of the problem, too, because the AR-15 is really like it has a marketing appeal. And America does marketing really well. And people respond very well to marketing, especially if you're selling them something they already want. So it's very convenient. The pedestal kind of grew up under it. But now that it's there, it's very hard to take that back.
Who are you trying to defend yourself from with an AR-15?
I can
a
answer
zombie
that.
apocalypse?
Anyone.
Someone else with an AR-15.
It's a lot.
Oh my God. If nobody can have an AR-15, once again, your problem is solved. If nobody can own it, your problem is solved. Also, by the time you see that they have an AR-15, you don't have time to get yours. Are you going to a scheduled shootout? Probably fucking not. So if someone's breaking into your house, if you are a responsible gun owner like you claim you are, your guns are locked away in a safe. So by the time you are aware that the person who has broken into your house has an AR-15, you're dead, okay? You're already dead. You weren't able to get to your gun safe to get it out. You're dead, okay?
No, the thing is, as a responsible gun owner, a person who owns several rifles, our president is protected with rifles, AR-15 style rifles. Our law enforcement officers use, carry, and have AR-15 platforms.
You are not the president of the United States. And law enforcement should not have AR-15s. And on the day-to-day, they don't. No, but I am. Hi, Tina. But like, I'm sorry, the threat against the president's life is continuous and real. No one knows who the fuck you are. Who's hunting you? I'm sorry. Who's hunting you with an AR-15?
rifles. So if I'm defending myself against, you know, a lot of the 2A people will say my government, I have to have equal or greater access to the tools that they have as well. Is the president's life more important than mine? If you don't like them, that's great. Don't buy them.
That's not how it works.
Okay. I understand the idea that you need, first, I mean, you need to protect yourself against law enforcement and you should have access to the same things that they have. It's not happening. They have tanks. They have fucking tanks. You will never have access to more firepower than the United States military. And you specifically should know that because you were in the military.
Works though. You only need to get hit with one bullet to die. Just because someone has an AR doesn't mean I got one. We're equal or on the same playing field.
Have you shot them though?
I don't want to shoot AR-15. I'm not fighting
the
zombies.
reason why I asked, though, the reason why I asked is because when you actually shoot rifles, when you have experience handling rifles versus handguns, AR-15 platform rifles versus handguns, you understand that there is a disparity of force there. I am not bringing a handgun to a rifle fight. I'm not.
You're not in any fight. I'm sorry. Where is this fight happening? Where is this fight happening? That you have time to prepare yourself for the rifle fight. That you know the time and location that it will be occurring. That you have the prep time to get your weapon and go to the apparently previously agreed upon location for the rifle fight.
I think if someone in the top
grocery store... You're not walking around your fucking neighborhood with the AR. I mean, maybe she is. I don't know. Maybe she lives in fucking Texas or Arizona. But for the, like, come on. Like, let's just be real about it. You're not getting into a rifle fight.
Store in Buffalo had an AR-15. That would have not saved lives. If anything, it would have harmed more people.
I think if the security guard who defended himself using a handgun against the person who had an AR-15, he had a rifle.
No, they asked the police chief of Buffalo after the shooting, if you were armed with those types of weapons, would you have been a better responder? He said no. He said the only reason that slaughter stopped is because the shooter stopped. Not because they had the right tools.
By security who had a handgun, who took a shot at the chest, and there are armor-piercing rounds, there are types of ammunition for AR-15s that would have ended that threat.
Aren't those illegal, though? Aren't those illegal to own?
Moment. But unfortunately, because he had just a handgun, the shooter was forced to slow down, stop, gather himself, but then he continued to take other people's lives.
What she's saying is fucking insane. In what universe is a security guard at a fucking grocery store expecting to be met with an AR-15? In what universe is it reasonable to have a security guard stationed at your door with armor-piercing bullets? Because that shit's it's not happening every day. I want the average citizen to have nukes at this point. Fuck it, we ball.
You're describing in a way sounds like an arms race where if someone else has an AR-15, therefore I need an AR-15. And that the end game is that everyone has an AR-15, right?
The AR-15's been around for what, 40, 50? I think it's almost 60 years old now to civilians. Like Greg has shot hunting rifles. Pretty much every hunting rifle is more powerful than AR-15. The AR-15 is the bare minimum.
When Left Flank Vet, a former military squad leader, watched this, he pointed out if you were really up against the government, that his boys would be bringing 3 machine guns and a grenade launcher and probably be calling in air support to a rifle fight.
That the U.S. government found out to be lethal to a human being. Just because it has 30 rounds doesn't mean you need to shoot 30 rounds at a person.
So why the specific feeling towards AR-15 and not a handgun with a 30-round magazine, which do exist?
I have the same sentiments for that,
So you feel equally about both?
Yeah, I think
he was shot with a handgun. I think, yeah, he is the person who feels equally about both. I think the man who is the victim of a shooting with a handgun feels equally about both.
We are in a world where we're creating these weapons that are literally built for mass fatalities, and we're encouraging that?
We're encouraging responsible gun owners to use the firearm to defend themselves.
For mass fatality purposes.
To defend myself, yes. If a single woman who lives at home and 30 intruders come in, God...
Oh, for the love of fucking God, shut up. Shut up. 30 intruders. Are they SWAT team style entering your house? For the love of fucking God. How did 30 intruders even get to your house unnoticed? A full team of vehicles, a fleet of vehicles descends upon your house. A fucking semi-truck opens up the hatch and 30 men run out to target you. Nobody. Are you fucking kidding me? You have a diseased brain. You had a U-Haul full of baddies. 30 to 50 rabid hawk intruders. I think she's a good example of traumatized people that shouldn't be allowed to have access to their own guns either. I mean, you are preparing for a situation that will never happen. For the love of God.
30 intruders.
Okay, say two. Right, intruders come in with my handgun, my semi-automatic handgun, using my firearm to defend myself. A rifle would be better. It would have a better advantage. I have a longer maximum effective ranges.
It's so unlikely that that happens to you. You are much more likely to be a victim of domestic violence, and you are much more likely to have, you know, a situation where someone who lives in your home, who doesn't have to gain unlawful entry, will use that gun against you. Then you are likely to use that gun to protect yourself in a home invasion. Like you are fantasizing about the most obscure and bizarre scenarios that where did this come from? Who called her Kim Possible? That was funny.
As far as defending my life, I don't have to be at a close distance. There are so many other advantages to using a AR-15 platform rifle for self-defense than people realize.
But the culture that y'all are buying into or encouraging is the same.
That's a full platoon of soldiers. 30 people. She's watched John Wick too much. I mean, it's like, you know, what's the movie called? Christmas Vacation. When the fucking SWAT team breaks into his house. It's like that scene, but just intruders.
Culture that armed the shooter at Tops. It's the same sentiment that armed the shooter.
She's going back to her military experience. And I mean, I think it's an example of how the military trains people for situations that they will not face in real life and leaves a lasting impression of, you know, and fear within them of these situations that aren't fucking happening in your civilian day-to-day.
In Atlanta.
I don't think so.
I mean, it's the same sentiment that, we should have these guns. So what's the difference between that shooter
One's a criminal,
and just someone
one's
else?
not. We're good people.
I feel like you're really putting words in our mouth because we haven't told anyone to go out and buy an AR-15.
I want to jump in because I don't think it's necessarily about telling someone to do it. It's about the availability and the access to that weapon.
Which are part of the marketing.
I have a question. If we get rid of AR-15s for law-abiding citizens, how do we defend ourselves when those two guys, and don't say that's not probable because 2 guys is more probable than 30 guys to kick in your door. How do I defend myself?
It's still so statistically unlikely that you are going to be the victim of armed home invasion. If you are, particularly as women, having a threat facing you in your home, most likely it's your boyfriend, it's your husband, it's your partner. That is the threat to you. That is the threat to your life in your own home. I mean, not in all cases, obviously, but you know, you are more likely to be a victim of domestic violence than a home invasion, an armed home invasion.
Myself and my children against those 2 guys who have AR-15s. Tell me how. And you said yourself that the police may not make it there in time. Tell me how I
the best chance you got in a situation like that is to get out the house.
And
if you're going to have a shootout with 2 people with AR-15s and your children at home,
she just stated that
so
they reach hard.
Just fucking spraying your AR-15 and doming your kids through the fucking wall.
Rounds a piece, that's 90 rounds of bullets firing through the home.
I have good news for Chat Rayyvana. After searching for almost 6 months, I have found a new place to live and will no longer be unhoused. That is fantastic. I am so happy for you. That is great news.
You need to get out of the house.
Oh, sir, I stand my ground. Sorry.
You got a better chance of jumping out that window than having a shootout with two AR-15s.
I do not have a better chance.
Does no one have neighbors?
You think that you have a better chance of killing not one, but 2 armed home invaders than you would have running away from them? When it comes to home invasion, like, their goal is to steal from you. The chances that someone is breaking into your house in the middle of a random person is breaking into your house, you know, in the middle of the night to murder you. I mean, God, it's like non-existent. It's significantly more likely that they hear someone's home and they run. Like, just fantasizing about you being put in a very dangerous situation so that in your mind, you can be the hero. But that's not how it's going to go down. If 2 people armed with AR-15s break into your house, not with the intent to rob you, but the intent to kill you, they're going to do it. They're going to kill you, okay? Unless you escape. So hypothetically, protecting your children matters more than children routinely being mass murdered at school by the same weapon. I mean, she thinks that if you secure the perimeter of the school, we could solve that problem.
Like, aren't we concerned about neighbors?
Let's talk about real life, all right?
You have home advantage. Running away will be easy target. What I'm trying to say is people are not breaking into your house to kill you, okay? It's not happening. Strangers are not entering your house to murder you. If there is an armed home invasion, they're probably trying to rob you. They don't want to kill you. They don't want that charge. So no, you're not going to be more of targeted running away. They're not trying to kill you, but you have to defend your property. I can buy a new TV. I cannot buy a new daughter or son who got shot because I decided to play the fucking hero in the story. I'm not going to risk my life over a television. I can get that back. I cannot respawn after I get domed because I decided to stand my ground for my fucking PS4.
The average person is not walking around.
Also, I don't want to kill someone over property. I don't want to kill someone at all. I would prefer to go through my life with 0 murders. I would like to kill 0 people. In any way I can avoid having to do it, I will.
The arrest of firearms are not with AK-47s. Let's get that right. All right, so after this whole panel thing, that's almost like a make-believe world because people do own them, but people aren't getting locked up with them. The average person getting locked up is with a disguised gun, a painted gun. You'll have a magazine clip that's extended, modifications. That's what's happening.
Yeah, but you don't know they are there just to rob you. I mean, statistically, they're there to rob me. They're not there to kill me. They probably don't think I'm home. They probably chose my house because they think no one's home. I don't have, hired assassins coming after my life. I know you think that, Gabe Dwelling. I'm not gonna, if I hear someone breaking into my shit, I'm gonna hide. I'm gonna hide and pray to God they don't find me. If it's possible, I'm gonna get the fuck up out of there.
Happening on a daily basis. People are getting their hands on illegal firearms that are
disguised. Yeah, they can't kill me if I'm not there.
Or defaced and using them against one another. That's what's happening in the real world. The average person isn't walking around out of their house with an AK-47.
But I mean, when we're talking about AK-47s, we're talking about mass shootings, which is a uniquely American thing. How do we prevent mass shootings? Most, when we're talking about these instances like school shootings, a lot of the time the perpetrator, the murderer, is someone who has a legally purchased AR-15, whether they bought it or their parents bought it. They're doing these mass shootings with a tool that was designed to do mass killing. So if we want to talk about lowering, likelihood of victims, That's one thing. But when we're talking about the AR-15, it's to address mass shootings.
I've heard so far, the two main sort of points I'm hearing is that more guns can make you safer, from one mentality, and another is that mental health is really the solution to prevent.
I'll just say, no one's breaking into my apartment. I'm on the 3rd floor. Like, you're not going up all those steps. I don't even like going up all those steps. If you do the trek up here, you can have my shit. Good on you.
Shootings. Is there anything else, solutions-wise, that we haven't talked about could make a difference and reduce the amount of gun violence and the number of gun
I'm
deaths?
just imagining some guy breaking into my house to steal my TV and then going down my like fucking staircase, running down the stairs with my TV. Like, it's not happening. It's not happening. There's no windows to get out of either, because the only windows that you can access from the balcony have bars on them. You're not jumping out of a 3-story building for a TV.
I feel like actually the emphasis has not so much been put on mental health as actually community. I feel like
myself, almost all apartments in Chicago are 3 flats, so. Assassination coordinates. Is that a fire hazard? There's a front and back entrance. I don't know, maybe. A lot of buildings, though, in Chicago have bars on the windows if you're on the 1st floor, or if you have a balcony that doesn't have gated access.
that's what I've really been hearing from, you know, even with the recent disagreements, like I've heard everyone here talk about community. We've had so many different
I would just go on Facebook Marketplace and get really nice stuff to replace what was stolen, and I would get it for free. Because I'm a Facebook Marketplace speedrunner.
Is in this panel on how we can fix these things, and so many of them involve contributing to community in different directions.
I want to say to to all of the people who have been here advocating for responsible gun use and offering your arguments and your life experience, like I really just want to say it in case no one else says it to you, that I think that you have value in your community without your guns. Like everything that you've talked about and everything that you've presented, and the skill and the intelligence and the desire to help people and to train people and to educate people.
We're not talking about the cop, though. That man has no marketable skills.
I honestly think that has nothing to do with your guns.
My staunch view is more education and training. And then also, we know that we are, and thank you for saying that, valuable with or without our firearms. Whether I'm in New York, whether I'm in a country where I can't have a firearm, it's me. I am the tool. I'm the weapon. So it's me and every.
Oh my God, she did not just say that. Yeah, that's also not what he meant or what they meant at all. That's not, I don't know what their pronouns are, but that's not what they meant at all. They didn't mean that you are fucking, you know, your fists are registered weapons. They meant that you provide value to your community with who you are as a person. The real AR-15 was inside me all along. So she thinks of herself and her job as a weapon. Yes.
Everything I know, and the firearm's just an extension of who I am. So I appreciate you saying that. And
that's
I
not
think
what they
no
meant.
one on this panel has said more guns is the solution. I don't think anyone has ever said that this entire time we've been talking.
I want to bounce off of that and say, okay, if more guns, not the solution, is less guns a solution?
No, certainly not. And I think, a huge part of this that we have to, consider is, in fact, the economic considerations. The solution is, in fact, to hold the gun industry accountable for their marketing of violence. And so we can't continue to point fingers at the individuals who wish to have such self-determination and self-defense. We need...
Shout out to the cameraman. What the fuck is this? And then they kissed after the recording stopped.
Need to begin pointing fingers at systems and economic industries
Bro,
that
what
have
the
been
hell?
so responsible for producing violence and producing massive amounts of weapons.
I imagine if the gun industry that's making billions of dollars off of firearms was pouring billions of dollars.
The gun companies don't want violence. The NRA held a rally 20 minutes from Columbine High School, days after Columbine. You think they don't want violence? Are you kidding me?
Dollars into the communities that are suffering from gun violence.
They love violence. They sensationalize violence because they profit off of violence. They make everyone believe that they are at risk, at very real risk, that their lives are in danger. So you need a gun to protect yourself from these bad guys with guns. Right now, violent crime is gone down. But you wouldn't know that if you watched fucking, propaganda from the NRA and from the gun manufacturers. If you watch local news, they sensationalize it. When local news sensationalizes it for, views. But the NRA and, gun manufacturers profit off of it because when you feel less safe in your community, you are more likely to buy a gun, as a means of protection. They love violence. That's how they make money. If they make you believe, why would gun manufacturers try to make you believe that you are safe? Because they can't sell you a gun if you think you're safe. Why would you need a gun? The NRA does not profit off of murder. No one wants murder. Are you joking? I'm sorry. How old are you? Because that is like okay, I would have guessed 12 if I'm being honest. That's like a child's view of the world, that nobody wants murder. Like, there is so much money to be made in violence. Security systems love violence. They love sensationalizing violence. No one mentally stable. It's not mental instability. It is capitalism. It is the financial, the financial incentive to sensationalize violence. They make money from the violence. So it is in their best interest to continue to sensationalize instances of violence. If you want to kill someone, you are messed up in the head. I don't disagree with that. I don't think the NRA want to kill people themselves. They want other people to kill people so that they can sensationalize it, so that they can, increase their membership. Or the gun lobbies and gun manufacturers want other people to kill people so that they can say, you're not safe in your community. You need a gun for home protection. Fortunately for you, we sell those.
Like, how would that transform our entire culture? But right now, we are living in a world where this billion-dollar industry is selling that more guns equals more safety narrative, and we're buying into it without pushing back and saying, actually, what we need is more resources for those that have been traumatized.
I wouldn't say that.
We need more resources for people so that they don't become traumatized. We need more resources for people so that they don't turn to crime in the first place. Because a lot of violent crime is the result of poverty. Give people options. But people don't want long-term solutions. They don't want the solutions that take decades and lots of investment. They want a simple solution. They want the gun.
Buying into it, I think we're simply recognizing the reality that there's a violent world out there and that we need to, in fact, protect ourselves, and we can't simply skip over.
They just want people to understand their rights and the fact that this stuff does happen and that owning a gun can help with defense. They have a monetary incentive. Sorry, you're young. They make money by doing that. These organizations don't give a shit about your rights. They give a shit about making money. And they make money by making you feel unsafe. The NRA gives out cards for people to keep in their wallet that tells them exactly what to say to the police if they shoot somebody so that they can frame it as self-defense. The NRA, okay, listen, you don't want to start down this road, kid. You don't want to start down this road, kid. You, an 18-year-old, probably still in high school, versus someone who has studied the law. You don't want to start down this road. The idea that the only types of lawsuits that are brought are for the interests of the people. These organizations plan litigation decades in advance. They plan what justices they want to put on the court, that they want to fund, what politicians they want in their pockets before they bring these cases, so that they get the decision they want, which benefits them. These organizations are their goal is to make money. Even organizations that claim to be nonprofit, their goal is to make money.
Over the fact that the world is violent, to live in a utopia.
But the best way to protect ourselves is to prevent violence.
How did you do that? He got timed out.
Yeah, and that's true. It is to prevent violence, but it's also about self-determination and self-defense.
Yeah, they probably only said they were 18 because you have to be 18 to watch my stream.
And we have to understand that there are, in fact, mechanisms to stop violence from occurring in the first place. But the only mechanism to end violence that has already occurred, that is already going to occur, is in fact largely the use of firearms for many of us.
I'm hearing a lot of consensus that it's not necessarily the guns, it's the reason that people are using guns. The nuance is like, how do you tackle that, right?
Well, I mean, it's both, right? It's hand in hand. It is the, you know, the low economic opportunities for a lot of people in this country in hand with the ease with which you can purchase a firearm.
I was gonna say, I think we glossed over this statement that you threw out there. You were like, so it's not necessarily the guns. I think it totally is the guns. There's a unique gun violence problem in America.
Thank
we
you.
have per capita way more guns than every other country. We have a unique problem, and it's not just domestically. And the reason why everyone here—
You missed my solid joke. Ray is pretty dangerous. She tried to punch a man during New Year's. You did witness it.
Who does own or regularly shoot guns, it's their weapon of choice because it is the gun. It is the most powerful weapon. It is capable of the most destruction, and that's why people gravitate towards it.
There's no changes to gun policy in this country that are not incredibly controversial and divisive. Like, how do we find that common ground and make changes that we can think, you know, might make a difference without, you know, triggering a second civil war in this country?
The United States—
Come on.
It's Congress needs to remove all legislation that's introduced to absolve the gun industry.
When you're timed out, your messages are deleted, but you can send more messages when you come back from the timeout. If you're banned, your messages are deleted. You can't send more messages.
Of any accountability. And the American public needs to begin realizing that our elected officials are, in fact, advocating for such absolve of responsibility. And so I think that's very much the first step. And then I think the second step to this is, in fact, to begin producing mechanisms that would stop the gun industry from marketing and profiting in the way that it's been for so long.
I think if 100,000 people were getting sick from some cereal brand every single year and 30, 40,000 of them were dying, the government would have stepped in immediately.
I do not have faith that that would happen. I do not have faith that that would happen.
Right? And held that brand accountable. And that's what we're dealing with guns and gun violence. We're losing historic numbers of lives.
It's really uncomfortable to wade into this conversation. A lot of people wouldn't choose to unless they were personally affected by gun violence or had their safety at risk. And so I would encourage people to sit with the discomfort because it's everybody's problem. It's not just America's problem. It's actually a global problem.
I just kind of want to draw people's attention to the fact that there have been a lot of different views on this panel, and yet we are very much pushing for a safer society where fewer people are killed by guns. This is really important for the national conversation because this is what actually drives progress as opposed to just everybody fighting on their side.
Well, I would strongly disagree because everyone will frame it as though they want to reduce crime, but that's not true. Like, you can frame it that way. It doesn't mean that that's what you believe. Of course you have to frame it like that. What else are you going to say? What are you going to, I want more people dead. That's not a winning argument. You know, or I just want to own a gun. Some people will come out and say that, but a lot of people won't. We know that that's true. We know that a lot of people want, you know, lax gun laws because they like having lots of guns. They enjoy having them. They like to shoot them. I don't think that everyone gives a shit about, you know, saving lives. I think especially in America, with our hyper-individualist society, I think a lot of people just care about their own asses. And I think a lot of the people on this panel also only care about their own asses.
Thank you all for doing this. We put some really good ideas out there and hopefully change the way people think about this issue. So thank you very much. Thanks for coming and doing this.
We allowed to stand up?
Are we allowed to stand up? You're forbidden. If you stand up, Joanne Wick is going to fucking use her lethal weapons hands to eliminate the threat that you're posing. Someone asked me to raid them a while ago. They said, next time you stream, can you raid me? And I don't remember who it was. So I guess the answer to that question is no, I can't. But I can raid Ben. And it would help if I typed in the word raid. Oh, it's not bleep. It's bleep. There you go. Go hang out with her. We'll be nice. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. I'll see you all tomorrow. I got to go to bed. I'm sleepy, but I'll see you all tomorrow. I'll be hosting the second hour of the power panel, and then I'll be streaming on my channel. Okay, bye.